Hi guys, welcome back to Fit Foods with me, Rob Richards, here on Process TV. Now, if you're wondering where I am, I've come to Big Bear Mountain in Southern California, some 8,000 feet above sea level. That's over a mile high. This is where many top athletes, boxers, and even the occasional fitness model come to get their higher altitude training in. I've spent the past week snowboarding, running in the hills, and getting my high intensity training up in the mountains. So I thought, what better way than to focus today's show on meals for the athlete. In fact, not just one meal, but three. This is pre, during, and post-workout nutrition, all designed to maximally fuel the athlete for optimum performance. And thanks to our friends at Big Bear Cabin, we've been hooked up with the ideal kitchen to bring this show to you. Follow me inside. Now, seeing as though we're up in the mountains and away from the usual kitchen back in LA, I'm going to add a slight twist to the show, and that's start off with all the ingredients out in front and pretty much mix and match them according to the meals that we're going to make. So just to give you heads up, we have some beef here, some herbs, a selection of 3 different root vegetables, butternut squash, sweet potato, and yam, and I'll explain the differences later on. We have some dark chocolate, some organic trail mix, red peppers, organic dried apricots, sliced green beans, banana, mushrooms, asparagus, a lemon, brown rice, some fresh Alaskan filet, and some sliced red onions. So these are our main ingredients. So let's get started. The first recipe is quite a basic one, but contains all of the key essential nutrients that we need to fuel our bodies for whatever event that might be. Whether you're up here in the mountains or down below performing in strength or endurance or power, this will help fuel your body with the energy that it needs. And this is going to include our beef sirloin. These are thinly sliced tips there. We're going to add some herbs to that. Mix in my brown rice so that can go together, and then for the veg we're going to bring in the red peppers, the green beans, and the onions. So these are the ingredients we need for the first recipe. Let's get started. Let's get the brown rice into the pan so this can get cooking. Now, I've already had some water heating on the pan, so I'm just going to turn that back on. That's already near boiling point. And I'm going to make enough for about 4 days, basically 4 meals, because if you think about it, most athletes will train for 2 days, take a day off, and then back for 2 days, taking 1 or both days on the weekend off. So we're up here in the mountains. This is pretty much just measuring as we see, kind of eyeballing. So I'm going to pour in, you see this bag, about 1/4 of this bag. So it'll provide us with about 40-50 grams of complex carbohydrates that will give us a good 2 to 3 hours of sustained energy. And this meal should be eaten about 90 minutes before we start whatever activity that it is that we're doing. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt in there, just normal table salt there, and leave that in an open pan. As soon as it starts to boil, I'm going to turn that heat right down to a low heat and let it simmer for about 20-30 minutes. I still want it quite hard, depending how soft or hard you like the rice. But while that's getting started, let's move on to the beef. Now, I always say whenever it comes to meat, fish, poultry, buy fresh. So I picked this up from the local meat market. Open it up here. Altogether, these 2 slices will give me, again eyeballing it, will give me around about 50 grams of protein. So for each meal, remember that's 4 meals, I'm getting about just under 20 grams of protein, which combined with the brown rice and the vegetables is fine, because remember I'm having 3 meals all in the time frame of about 4 hours, so I don't need to be overloading my body. What I'll do is spread these out, and then I've got a selection of herbs here, herbs and different spices. Again, you've seen us back in the kitchen, we have everything already lined up, but traveling in the mountains, we don't have that luxury. This means we can keep it quick and simple. Okay, first let's put some rosemary on. Meats I like to think of as quite a personal touch, so whatever spices, whatever herbs you like. This is some oregano. I'm going to mix everything up, and finally let's put some thyme leaves on. Right, before we get that in the pan, I actually have some herbs here. You can see how fresh they are. They even have the roots in. I'm going to use these to add a bit of flavor onto our steak. I'm not actually going to eat these. Just going to rub them into the meat. Ideally, if you're marinating a meat, you should let it kind of savor in that marinade overnight. So if I was preparing ahead of time, I'd prepare all of the meat, same with the fish, and then put this into a Ziploc bag and keep it in the fridge overnight until it's ready. Right, let's get this over to the pan. The meats, nice big stainless steel frying pan here, really gets some high heats up. Again, I like to barbecue my meats, but pretty cold outside and I want to keep everything in the kitchen. So a medium flame there. This stuff works great. It's basically oil in a can, spray, low-cal spray. Much better than using a non-stick butter. Wait until the pan gets pretty hot so we start to see some steam rising up. While that's happening, as I said, the water's already been pre-boiled, so I'm going to turn that down to a simmer and keep an eye on the rice. So move the pan, spray in. Now our meats won't get stuck. Let's pull the sleeves up for this one. So I'm going to give the meats a bit of a mash up, rub them all together. This is how quick we can get it done. These are thin, so they're going to cook quickly. So I'm going to lay it down, covering as much of that pan surface area as I can. All of those herbs and spices mixed in. Now I'm basically flash frying this. I like to eat my meat kind of a medium rare. So at this temperature, this is about 2/3 of the way from being completely turned up to max. I'm going to cook the meats for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side, flip them over and brown it out for a further 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, this really isn't going to take long to cook. Look how thin that meat, and it's already starting to brown on that one side. So let's leave that to cook and move on to our veg. So on with our veg, we're going to take the red peppers, going to add the green beans, we're going to take the onions over to the stove. So 2 of these are going in the pan and 1 is going in our pot here. So again, I've had some water preheated. I'm going to turn that back on. Same with our large frying pan here. So I'm going to take the green beans and add them into the water here. We're basically going to parboil them and steam them at the same time. So again, depending how firm you like your beans, I let them quite firm so that I can bite into them. Plus it maintains a lot of that nutritional value in the veg. So the pan goes on there. We're going to leave that for about 7 minutes. Add a couple more sprays into our pan here. And then start to caramelize the onions. So I'm going to lay these out, breaking apart the rings. These will caramelize on their own. The natural sugars in the onions will start to come out. This requires a low heat, but it takes pretty much as long as the rice to cook. And I want these to go soft, so I'm going to place them on top, and they're going to get cooked slowly from that heat coming up from the pan. Meat's been cooking for about 3 minutes now, and you can see that blood starting to come up. So I want to keep all of that flavor in the meat. I'm just going to turn it over. Now, one thing you must never do when cooking meat is to push down on it. It pushes all of the juices out and you lose that lovely tenderness that you get with the meat. All the spices and herbs are coming off from that. You know, while that's browning off, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of seasoning. This is about 1/4 teaspoon. and about the same for some black pepper, just to enhance the flavor, the natural flavor that we get from this beef. Okay,